Is it recording? Oh, yay. All right, so this is my very first time recording on Facebook directly from Zoom. Just like there's so many upgrades coming in for each and every one of us, there are the upgrades technologically that are allowing us to reach so many more of you in this sacred time than we've been blessed to be able to so far. So I do know that there's some sort of way to be able to stream from here and equally see your comments, your responses. Oh, boom, got like it on the half side of the screen. I see you, Sherry. Aloha, sister. So because my screen's a little bit interesting right now, I can't see the full comments. But I will do my best if something comes through to be able to comment on this. However, aloha, Brother Jamal. So, with me only having a short window to really be able to connect with you today, I just really want to allow this opportunity to hold a field of eternal love, to connect with those of you that are already familiar with me, my beloved, our beloved brother and sister, and the work that we've been doing, have been here bringing forth. And to those that are new, we have so much to share with you. So, first of all, beloveds, today, we are still riding in the energies that came through on the eclipse. And we're preparing for a transmission we're going to be bringing forth tomorrow. Now, there are those that are really, really excited about any numerological gateway that comes by. And in all rights, they should be. And then there are those that get a little confused and they're a little bit doubting. They're like, why do these or these dates matter when, certain calendars, such as the Gregorian, have just been implemented and instated, a mere centuries ago? So, and it's in each and every one of you that are holding that level of doubt and discernment. Like, thank you for asking questions, because these are all valid points to really, look into and not just get swept away in the hype of what's happening. Within this system, every single thing is a hologram emanation based off of an original source code. And at the same time, each and every one of us play a role through our internal life decisions on what's going to impact the manifestation of the hologram within our personal reality. Now, although we have seemingly unlimited options, all of this is working around the core codex of the universal system that we are in. A system that, due to those that had the understanding of the Stargate technology, of the ascension sciences and mechanics, were able to manipulate the codex to fit their personal, collective, and gestalt goals and agendas. So we're in a point where we don't even want to go too much into these. For those that have been working with us, you already know a lot about this. I am going to be starting to create more videos, and we're figuring out a way to make this a certain level of our information available on YouTube, and certain layers of our information available on other platforms that you may invest into yourself and into our work to receive these codes, these conscious and genetic memory activations. while further streaming with your own codex, with the keys you hold to unlock that unique manifestation that's held within, that's ready to come forth. And so we want to focus on what's really exciting right now. Because there are things happening right now that are unlike any other time in our collective existence. Many of you have followed the work that we've done, even though we've only been able to share little bits and pieces of what truly transpired over these last few years and over these last couple months. There was very specific work that was done throughout Egypt, throughout Israel, to reclaim the core architecture, the living consciousness, energetic, spherical domains of our planet that hold very important instruction sets that are being activated and brought online to calibrate and awaken your DNA and your genetic code. Now, equally, this is something that's huge for the rise of the masculine and feminine. For there were many things that were impacted our Seraphi and Seraphim lineages, our Ra lineages, many of the royal avian lineages, and those from the family of Michael. Remember, Christ Michael, never Archangel Michael. Old stories that are being completed in full. And these impacts to the collective masculine principle, to the rod, to the horizontal grid systems, to not just our soul, because for many of us on the planet and the planet itself, the soul was disconnected from the incarnate physical embodiment and manifestation. Now it's still there. We still interface with it. Our soul is practically our emotional body. And now with this, it's an aspect that this is why there's been so much fragmentation on emotions, disassociation, a dulling over an over amplification, as our soul has worked in any way, shape, or form possible to really begin to reassimilate to our body systems, to connect to our higher consciousness systems, because by the time we're 11, we're supposed to know who we are. 22, our soul is supposed to be connected and activated. By the age of 33, we're meant to have already connected and bridged to our oversoul matrix, like our higher self consciousness that can then bring us forth into the avatar embodiment that's meant to come online between the age of 33 and 44. Salichia kariaka nora mashine selisha laka norakita. Unara yashita kariaka noraka makaya sakarukunte ashinakai. Beloved God, for all of our family that are here connecting with this in real time and in no time, may we fully activate our solar union, ascension, architecture, and container to fully hold and house the diamond pillar of each and every individual, to clear through, reconnect, and harmonize all life fibers, channels, and spiritual communication links, to allow that of which is in highest resonance to be received, honored, to be able to be activated in an internal alchemical process that catalyzes true, authentic, organic gnosis. So that these keys, oh, I can feel so much through the throat centers right now that are being cleared out, both to allow us to speak. Remembering this is one of the reasons why I haven't gone live directly onto platforms such as Facebook, such as like this, and why we've been doing that work with each and every one of you and those that have been working with us and will begin to work with us to unlock the harnesses, the blockages, everything that has limited our full expression, that has made us fearful to speak what we know to be true, something that is eternal, Shinari Sikamaruku Shinaramata, something that is being reborn and birthed within each and every one of us, Shinarakanisi Liaramakunateshe, something that those organizations and groups have fully worked to try to suppress. I mean, even the fifth Stargate interface, the Vatican built itself directly on top of it. Trying to suppress our voice, our memories, our wisdom from being spoken, from being received. So I just want to say thank you to those of you that have always so beautifully received us with an open heart, and to those that have challenged us, and that have given us a sacred gift and an opportunity to stand strong in our truth and to be able to come forth and share lovingly, compassionately, and to help identify those areas of our own trauma and triggers where our voice have been suppressed so that we can stand eternally and unwaveringly to bring forth why we are here. But to keep this simple with the masculine principle, there were certain things that are still going on, especially in the Iraqi locations. But there were certain things that had literally essentially like stapled the oversoul and monadic higher consciousness of the masculine to these inverted grid systems. So when we've already been struggling to embody our oversoul, and avatar consciousness that was meant to happen at 33 has been essentially non-existence, not an availability, and we've all been trying to get caught up in this in-between manifestation that has fully held back our ability to connect this in the proper sequencing, has blocked this. And due to what's occurred, this blockage is being removed in full. It was a few weeks ago. There were very specific monadic body layers and pieces that had been fully reclaimed and were being brought back, not just to the collective, but to many of you that have played instrumental roles in the processes required to restore the authentic organic ascension cycle, to be able to stabilize the gateways so they would be online, ready to go by the end of the 12-year cycle of 20 that began 2012 and continues until 2024. So this aspect that so many men have been working through, but have still struggled to connect not just their hearts and souls, which so many have been beautifully healing this reconnection, but to now bridge into that higher consciousness, that higher state of awareness, something that largely we've seen many of you beautiful, beloved sisters, the physical embodiments through the law of gender of the divine feminine, that have really been on this acceleration of awakening and remembrance and accessing that of which is within. However, this is another piece that was huge in regards to what occurred over during our work between Israel and Egypt. Because once again, I'm just dropping little pieces. We've explained more of this in our live calls, transmissions that are still available for you, and we will be sharing even more moving forward. But there's that of which we're meant to share publicly on platforms like this that are still aligning to full support of this new earth manifestation. Versus what we're able to share in private containers or platforms that allow us to express our voice, our wisdom, our gnosis, our remembrance in a much more free and expansive field. So there are certain things that happened to the feminine as a whole, but those crystalline Christed lineages and races, very specific feminine guardians and teams, and those that are from these lines had specific binding spells, curses, things that were placed on the reproductive systems, on the wombs, on many different pieces. I'm still working my best to keep things simplified. But these things impacted sacred unions, both the internal unification and harmonization between the inner masculine and feminine. and this physical hologram emanation that's caused distortions, damage, trauma, separation between the external unions, and has even caused a manifestation of connecting through these wounds and pain to partnerships that can teach lessons, but at a point are no longer supportive to really allow the body, the soul, the being to heal. This is why so many of our beloved sisters that have awakened are calling out for their divine partnerships, for their divine unions. And it's been crucial to be able to find that self sovereignty and that power within, to hold that wisdom, those codes within, to heal that masculine principle, which has played a massive role for the healing of the masculine embodiments. And now, with what's been restored and reclaimed through the golden eagle grid matrices, the 10-dimensional override pillars that are directly correcting through the Solomonic shield and active gateways that are open with the crystal cathedrals and Solomon's temple of light, the new one that's restored and anchored, is huge to help the masculine embodiments. And these curses, these binding spells that also suppress the higher self, this true solar crystalline diamond sun emanation of your highest consciousness, my beloved sisters, is something that has gone through a full level of healing. And when we say this, on one level, it's been completed. And through many of you that have already been feeling this or have been working through clearing this through your own self in your own ancestral lines, there's an acceleration of this that is underway, that is allowing a new frequency to be held, to be stabilized, so that this masculine principle and male embodiment, that this female feminine principle and female embodiment can finally begin an entirely new level of reintegration, of remembrance of our true authentic self, to begin to come home to that safety, that trust, to see the divine mirror within, and to see this manifest throughout. Although we've all had tastes of this, or many of us, I should say, have been able to taste this in some way, shape, or form. And most of us have been able to feel this within. We're now in that point within this universal system where these principles, this polarity synthesis, this reunion between beloveds, like true Hyros Gamos, is now reaching a whole new layer of manifestation within this system. On those final pieces, everything that ranges from the Vatican out to the UK, these final pieces are in a state of dissolution and crumbling. There are certain teams, certain groups that are going through the final pieces of this. Whereas for much of our family, it's really just important to give yourself that time to reflect, to ask questions, to honor your path, to heal, to allow yourself to move forward with whatever you need to release the old stories. To release the old programming, to allow yourself to unwind and release that trauma that you've held for so long. With every breath, with every song, with every movement, with every time you honor yourself to rest, with every time you honor yourself to speak and share what you know is true, you're allowing the old to go into a state of transmutation and dissolution, and the new to be birthed, anchored, stabilized, ignited within and throughout you. We, everything. Diamond grid activation that's stabilizing the higher earth frequencies and the octaves that we're able to move through. And as we do this, instead of it having to be so chaotic, or like for a lot of others that are not doing this work, we're bringing in such a compassionate, unconditional, eternally loving field that we hold the forgiveness, we hold the love, we hold the gratitude, like we hold the compassion, we hold the wisdom. We're remembering something. And equally in this state for each and every one of us, like we've also been having to learn not just the matrix that we broke ourselves out of, but the matrix behind the matrix, a finer layer of the veil that has utilized so much of the identities, history, memories to recreate something that is based off of truth, but is not authentically true. And in the past, when we were learning to find our own power, it was really easy to connect to these things outside of us. A necessary crutch, maybe for some, to be able to get that confidence, to remember who you and I and we really are. As we begin to remember this and step into our sovereignty, we remember that there is nothing needed other than God and ourself, and that we are all one. That we are a conduit to something that is the strongest, most powerful force in all of creation. And everything else is just a manifestation of this. And when we can embody this, truly embody and understand what this means over just speaking this, what we'll begin to access that will begin to allow us to reach an entirely new level of embodiment, and for us to be able to show up in service in ways that all of us have been doing, but in a new level that is going to blow all of our hearts and minds completely into an entirely new octave of being in manifestation. So 2:30 exactly. And I've got to just be a little bit simple on this, and because there's so much depth that's being shared. And to some of you, this might be really easy to understand. You probably have already been holding and receiving this. To others of that are here, it may seem a little bit more complex. Release the need for the mind to conceptualize, for the consciousness to have to rationalize, and just go into that heart of feeling and recognize that everything is about unconditional love, and that this is a force that will transmute everything. However, we must hold the wisdom, the accountability, the responsibility for ourselves, and to hold others accountable, those that are working with others, those that are doing things that may not fully see, because it is easy to bypass things, to remember one side where everything is whole, and to ignore the pain and the separation and division here. It's easy to love things that are viewed. It's easy to love our family and those things outside of us that are not, that we've never had to perceive as doing anything that was harmful or neglectful or wrong, or that may have never hurt you or those that you care about. But true unconditional love is not just loving that of which is loving back to you. It's learning to see what is authentically true and processing those emotions, especially those of you that were intimately part of these different stages of fall throughout our collective existence, and finding within your heart, within your being, the ability to equally love that group, person, being, agenda, whatever has gone on unconditionally. And to know through your sovereign choice, which you know to be true, to hold them accountable and to not fall into these narratives, these karmic contracts, these things that will continue to try to loop us in. Because when we do this, we step into another layer of our own power. We shine a light that may not be seen within the shadows and entanglements and AI assimilation that others are holding. And we grant a sacred gift, a sacred opportunity that allows them to begin to have that loving support, so it doesn't have to seem as scary, or somebody doesn't have to feel like they did something bad or wrong, but can now have even more support to make a new choice. It's all been about choices. So I leave this final piece, these breadcrumbs within breadcrumbs, as we progress into what this 1111 gateway stands for. Like we were saying earlier, the masculine and feminine union mirrors being able to see each other, unconditional love, and now support, second chances, things we might not have seen that we have the opportunity to just soar through now. And for those of us that have been working through this is that opportunity for what we've completed to be closed out, transmuted. The sun is in the seventh house right now, the alchemical stage of transmutation and sublimation. How do we transmute that of which that no longer serves us? And how do we find the things that we're processing within to direct into another manifestation that can be productive, that can be inspirational, that can be supportive for ourselves and others? This 1111 gateway allows us as a collective to be able to really see ourselves through the eyes of God. For those of us that are in unions or even have relationships with close friends, partners, families, to see that divine mirror within, to hold that in absolute unconditional love. To see ourselves in a new level of light of unconditional love, to allow ourselves to receive, to be, to share, to grow, to inspire, to catalyze, and to unite, so that all of us, all kingdoms of God, all of our family may thrive. One heart, one vision, peace, joy, happiness, compassion, unity, play. Because I know with how stressful this life can be, so much of us just need to find more opportunities to play. And sometimes through this is how we can transmute and move more energy than we've ever really been able to move through a lot of our own healing and processing. So these frequency transmissions that are coming in come in at such a unique time, because due to the location of where the eclipse was stationed, the total lunar eclipse, it's the last one that's going to happen until March of 2025. I know a lot of you have been asking about the moon and all these things, and I've been asked to make some videos about this when I can. But I just want to remind you, the moon in itself is not bad. These things are not evil. It's just the agendas from those that have utilized these levels of technology for their own gains, and these things that are ending and terminating. So, it's a time for celebration, but it's also important just to begin to remember what was, so we can release the stories, disconnect ourselves from things that no longer support us, and just like jump and dance and sing and play all the way into our highest timeline, because it is here, it is now, it is being birthed through I, you, me, we, all of our family. And this energy, though, brought up a lot of our shadows, a lot of things we needed to express. And yes, to those of you that are listening, there were a lot of dark agendas that were brought forth on here to try to impact those of us from various lineages and lines that are here radiating our light and speaking our truth. But it's not in this able to make the same impacts. Like, there's even some groups that are trying to work with some of the dragon lines and certain things right now that are trying to work with the dodecahedron and certain platonic solid configurations that are core fundamental building blocks for our universal system. And and there's a lot that have yet to understand and remember the dark Atlantean sciences, and these things that are trying to be activated are non-supportive to what's really happening. But the same access they had is not even able to be brought forth. And like last night, I had this specific dream where there was me and a group of individuals, and this was very unique into just a standard dream. And I've been having some really interesting ones ever since the eclipse occurred. A lot of sides defecting, coming into a state of unity, that don't want this division, don't want this warring, don't want this separation. They recognize what's happening. They know where we're at. And yeah, there are those that are still holding on, that are still playing out these agendas, and we just got to meet them with so much love, but accountability at the same time, not to bypass what's going on. So last night it was really interesting because there was the final sequence. We had to go somewhere, and there were two very specific crystals we had to reclaim. And these were dodecahedral crystals. However, it was different. There were how to explain this? It was a very interesting, it was not a geometric symmetrical dodecahedron. The sides were, I've never seen a crystal like this. It was, other than two extending points that basically had, it was like a perfect dodecahedron, but two extending points that had what almost looked like a coffin on them. And it was also a five-sided shape geometry, but it was a distortion to the organic symmetrical alignments and configurations of these. And these distortions that were trying to almost invert the dodecahedral patterning were working to be installed into the planetary grid systems. And we had to reclaim them. There was a lot of density in there, but it was also something that by reclaiming these was allowing the original dodecahedral patterning and the manifestations and different variations of this to be brought forth. And, it's really interesting because we're also going through a dark matter transmutation period right now where the original consciousness of our true Holy Mother is just crystallizing and flowering throughout every level of creation right now, throughout our own level of being. And the dodecahedron was also a big part of this, and the elemental aether and these components that we had to recode about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and that were installed into the first planetary stargate after completing a solar alchemical cycle. And we're now in that next cycle where it's being transduced through the planetary grids. And this is why we had to go to Temple Mount and such, these blockages, these plugs to like the connection points between the rest of the Templar. Like the code comes up, and before it can start to move through the other triads, when this is blocked, it kind of inverts and doesn't allow this to manifest. And so, this has been unlocked to allow this to start to transduce and flow. And this restoration that allows for the authentic mother consciousness comes in, gives us a mirror from the lunar feminine to the solar feminine, that gives us a mirror between the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and allows us to synthesize, to move through a gateway, to come into such a divine holy union with God, with all that we are. And it's a new beginning, a new chapter. While others are still playing out their stories, their karmic lessons that are being completed on a massive level, but until people make this recognition and step forward, they can still choose to play these trauma games out. But many of you, any of us that have been doing this work, that are recognizing, that are truly ready, even if we don't fully believe we're ready, if you're here, you're receiving this, you are ready. We have an opportunity to just flow into this next highest alignment that's here for each and every one of us. So tomorrow, this is why we are very excited. There's a lot of other stuff that's been going on. I'm just dropping little hints and pieces. And so, but tomorrow at 10:44 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1:44 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are going to be bringing forth a sacred transmission of harmonics, of love, of living light code activational sequences to just support each and every one of us to co-create and co-manifest together as one family, something that's going to support us with this alignment, support us in our highest embodiment of joy, and support the diamond grids and everything that's coming online for all of our family. So we are honored, and for me, as well as my beloved sister that's part of our Core 4 council, our beloved sister Rosalie, it is our birthday on the 13th. We were both born the same year, same month, same day, 2 different countries. So this is going to be a perfect celebration for the collective, as well as the kickoff launching to my sacred birthday weekend. So I'll be turning 31, that mirror of 13, because once again, 13, divine mother frequency, the time of the mirrors of the 11:11, 13:31, mirroring each other beautifully. So sacred alchemy in this for myself as well, but sacred alchemy for each and every one of us at this time. So if you feel the call, reach out. The link is on my page, my beloved's page, Richard Melchizedek's page, Rosalie Bridget's page. And we, as Christ, Raya, Ryan, Richard, Rosalie, Melchizedek, are beyond honored to be here to serve you and to play with you, to help you remember and connect the dots between things you already know within. And sometimes it's just nice to have family and support that can equally help us catalyze, alchemize, and crystallize this sacred gnosis and remembrance. So with that, beloved, Shatarini ara rura narakati shakahakunai salara. Rayu sharakarakumakari arakari arakari yari yara 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 yara. Undriya shinese. Ranamatishe karakunora. Ramatisha otura kama. Unariya selesha ni selai sularakitu. Unamao chinayaku wakamiyasu. Nakuma shihatu au. I can feel your voices unlocking, your hearts opening. I can feel the expansion and I can feel the contraction. Know that at whatever point you're feeling, this is part of that sacred alchemy of divine remembrance and of coming home to yourself with all that you know to be true. Trust yourself, trust the process, and have the greatest time going through this. Be grateful for the intense blessings. Be grateful for the smooth ride that we're all playing every angle, every part of this. So with that, beloveds, I've got to get ready to transition over to those of you that are part of our Phoenix tribe for one of our live sessions for the alchemical transmission of what the sun's coming in through right now. And so I'm going to transition. I love you all so unbelievably much from the deepest layers of my heart and all that I am. I love you. I'm so, so, so grateful, blessed, honored, and humbled to be here with each and every one of you now. Really excited to see those of you that want to join us tomorrow. And as always, remember, if you're not able to be live with us, the replays are available. And we've still got, multiple replays for those of you that weren't able to catch us for the last Egypt transmission. We brought in a little breakdown of what happened the last 10,000 years between the Druids, the Mayans, with the various stargates, the unplugging of our DNA and Sakara, many higher self and monadic reclamations that were going on, everything that happened, or the core parts that stopped, the last bit of the Yeshua Christ Melchizedek Templar mission, and what's been happening now between 2012 to 2017, 2017 to 2019, 2019 to 2022, and what's about to be catalyzed from this point forward. Equally so, we have a special key exchange, upgrade, and code transmission that were brought forth between the Israeli and Jordan alchemization before we began Egypt. We've got a very sacred transmission from ancient builder race technology in the Stargate portal that's over in Israel that was built right before the Saqqara invasion and the next station of fall. And I've also got a 12-minute video activation that I'm just going to post as a gift to each and every one of you. Probably put it out on YouTube. That was from underneath of the Sphinx as I went through and shimmied up these side tunnels that were underneath of that. There's a ton of orbs that are pew, 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 throughout that video. So that's always a fun one. So we got a lot of medicine to share to share with each and every one of you. If you are interested in receiving any of these previous activations and announcements, once again, just reach out. And although I'm doing my best to get back to all the messages, know that I apologize. There's a lot that we're being asked to oversee, and equally, we're still going through our own processes. We're like going through this together, that of which was not available originally for when we turned 33 and had been severely compromised over the last 2 millennia is now coming online. So there are those of us that are going through the prerequisites, so to speak, to reach this embodiment stage. And there's a lot of you that, might even be beyond this point that are playing through that catch up to get everything reconnected so our body systems can ignite in the solar year of 2024. And there's no rush. We're exactly where we're meant to be. We took on certain contracts to get to this point that are completed, and we have certain contracts for this next stage that are getting ready to come online. So honor your process. Once again, I can't say that enough. And Shia Hasuliara Kamatu. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. As a group, let's just take one deep, loving breath within to ground all that's been shared and brought forth. Breathing in. Hold. Exhale. We seal this sacred container in the living light of wholeness and union, with all pillars, with all architectures, all pyramids and temple space, all geometries and building blocks of creation fully governed 100% by God's natural laws, the sacred law of love and the sacred law of unified one. In service to God, in service to all, we seal this field with love, joy, peace, gratitude, and unity. Thank you to our family within and off planet that are supporting us. And thank you to those of you on this planet that are here receiving this, supporting us, supporting all. This never could have been done without each and every one of you. And I promise you the celebration that is coming forth as we continue to move forward through these final hurdles and trials are everything we waited for. So thank you, beloveds. So excited to connect with you all soon. Sending you all so much love. Aloha.